Understanding Section 504. Basic concepts of special education, what a 504 plan is, who qualifies, and how it differs from an IEP. A guide for families and educators. What is Section 504? Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 is a federal civil rights law. It prohibits discrimination based on disability in any program that receives federal funding, including public schools. It is not a special education law. However, it guarantees a free appropriate public education through equal access. A 504 plan is the document that lists the accommodations a school will make so that a student with a disability can learn alongside their peers. Covers the whole school day, classes, field trips, sports, clubs, before and after care. Enforced by the U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights. Who qualifies for a 504 plan? A student qualifies if they have a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities, such as learning, reading, concentrating, walking, breathing, or communicating. Neurological conditions like ADHD could encompass attention and executive function challenges in the classroom. Health conditions, such as asthma and allergies, require medication or emergency plans, as do symptoms related to diabetes that require blood sugar monitoring, snacks, and access to nurses. Mental health conditions such as anxiety and depression that can affect daily functioning at school. Conditions that affect access related to mobility, vision, or hearing. Others, such as recovery from major trauma or treatments and injuries, may include concussions or temporary conditions that limit participation. Eligibility is decided case by case. A diagnosis alone does not automatically qualify a student. What goes in a 504 plan? A 504 plan includes accommodations that remove barriers. The curriculum and grading expectations remain the same, but the way the student accesses them changes. You can think of these accommodations as: environmental supports include preferred seating, an exam room with reduced distractions, and breaks to move around, and instructional supports could include copies of notes, audiobooks, and additional time to process instructions. For assessments or tests, the student can have extended time, tests read to them aloud, and breaks between sections. Health-related could be medication schedule, availability of snacks, nurse visits, and emergency protocol. No cost to families. Evaluation, the plan, and every accommodation in it are provided by the school at no charge. Plans are reviewed regularly, typically once a year. So, what is an IEP? An Individualized Education Program is a legal document created under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, the IDEA, for students who need specially designed instruction, not just access. Requires one of the 13 qualifying disability categories under IDEA. It includes measurable annual goals and monitoring and reporting of progress. Specify the special education services, therapies, and minutes. Written by a required team that includes the parents. It is reviewed annually and the student is re-evaluated at least every 3 years. 504 Plan versus IEP, key differences. 504 Plan versus IEP. A 504 plan comes from civil rights law and provides equitable access to the general curriculum through accommodations, without required goals or an established format. An IEP comes from IDEA, covers 13 disability categories, and provides specially designed instruction, services, and measurable goals in a document required by the federal government, with parents on the team. How does a student obtain a 504 plan? First, there has to be a request. A guardian, parent, teacher, or doctor has to submit a written request to the school's 504 coordinator. Then comes the evaluation. The school collects records, grades, teacher input, and medical documentation. After the evaluation comes the decision. A team reviews the evidence and determines if the student is eligible. If the student is found eligible for the plan is created and periodically reviewed. The adaptations are documented, shared with the staff, and reviewed at least once a year. If it is determined that a student is not eligible for an IEP, the team must still consider whether a 504 plan is appropriate. Parents' rights and conflict resolution. The federal law gives families a voice in every decision, and a clear path to follow when they disagree with the school. Your rights as a parent: you have the right to be notified before the school evaluates, changes, or ends a plan. Review all of your child's education records. Take part in meetings and share medical or outside evaluations. Request an impartial hearing with the right to bring a lawyer. Be free from retaliation for raising a concern. If you disagree, first you should talk with the team, start with the teacher and the 504 coordinator and make the request in writing. If you need to escalate the situation, you can use the district processes, request mediation or file a complaint through the district's 504 procedures. Even request a due process hearing. An impartial hearing officer reviews the case and issues a decision. You also have the right to file with OCR, that is, a formal complaint with the Office for Civil Rights generally must be filed within 180 days. What to remember? Access versus instruction. A 504 plan changes how a student accesses the curriculum. An IEP changes what and how they are taught. These are different laws with the same objective, both are federally protected and free for families, and both exist to give students a fair opportunity to learn. Start the conversation. If a student is having difficulties, request an evaluation from the school in writing. That request initiates the process. Where to go next? El Coordinator 504 de su distrito, primer punto de contacto para referencias, planes y quejas. U.S. Department of Education, Office for Civil Rights, guidance documents and the federal complaint process. The Parent Training and Information Center in your state, free help to understand your rights and prepare for meetings. Local disability advocacy organizations, individual support, workshops, and accompaniment to meetings. For more information about the ARC of Harris County's Educational Advocacy Service, The Right to Learn, please contact 713-957-1600, extension 116 or 118.